Have you ever wondered how brands make their musical choices to represent their products? We certainly have, which is why we sat down with Emmanuel Seuge from one of the world's most iconic brands, Coca-Cola. We discuss how music plays an increasingly important role in the marketing of Coca-Cola on a global scale. We also discuss the enormous diversity and regional styles of music that Coke uses, and much, much more. Coming up.
This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com. Coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Hi, we're back here live from Sync Summit on day 2, and we managed to catch up with Emmanuel Seuge of Coca-Cola. Emmanuel, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're in charge of music at Coca-Cola, and it seems that music is playing a larger and larger role in the marketing campaigns, much more so in the past. How did that come about?
You know, music has always been in our DNA. We've always leveraged music as a way to bring our communication, enhance our communication, connect with consumers, connect with larger audience. The reason for that is that music is the number one passion from all around the world, whether you go to Indonesia, to Brazil, to the UK, to the US. If you ask teenagers and younger audience what's the number one passion, they're going to say music. So it's very natural for us to leverage music. I think we've leveraged more or less, depending on the different periods of the organization. But about 4 years ago, there's never been a time right now where music has been more consumed, right? Music is now much more accessible. The live music scene is going very, very well, is growing tremendously. And despite some of the messages that are saying that the music industry is in crisis, it's actually the opposite. A portion of the music industry is redefining itself, but the whole music ecosystem is actually never been as growing as it is right now. So for us as an organization, as a company that always leverage consumer passion as a way to connect with our consumers, music is a natural choice. And I would say about 3 to 4 years ago, we decided to kind of accelerate the way we leverage music on a global basis. We brought inside our organization people that came from the music industry and that lead music inside of our team. And we leverage on multiple number of campaigns. And, whether it's on the FIFA World Cup campaign, where music is now a key component to enrich, enhance, amplify that campaign. For the Olympics last year in London, we had a whole music thematic where, our whole campaign was around the merge of music and sport coming together. Or music-specific program, and, that's where the partnership with Spotify comes in, and, where we took equity in Spotify, and we leverage that platform as a way to connect with our consumers on a daily basis. So more and more initiative for sure.
So it's interesting. I mean, you've mentioned a lot of things with regards to connecting with, the audience, like the deal you did with Spotify. That's a unique kind of deal in terms of just the extensive reach that they have, both domestically and internationally. And I know Coke is a worldwide organization. Let me ask you a question about the music aspect. Do you use music indigenous to the territories in the different territories that you use around the world for Coca-Cola?
It's a very good question. The answer is yes. I'll give you an example. We're launching, we're getting ready for the FIFA World Cup that's happening in Brazil next summer.
Right.
Like we did in 2010, we created a global song that we actually released earlier in September this year. But because we are a global organization, but we are operated locally, we think that consumers, they react better to localized version of our marketing. We try to localize our marketing, and music is no exception, So when we created that global song, we created in a way that it would allow each of our local markets to basically plug in a local artist in a local language, right?
Oh.
So our global song, we're actually probably have between 40 and 50 localized version, the Greek version, the Arabic version, the Spanish version, the Portuguese version, so on and so forth. And in each of those markets, that's the version we're gonna release. And in 2010, when we did this similar kind of approach for the World Cup, we had 27 different versions of our song. 20 of them actually went #1 in the local charts. So it's definitely, and it's true to the way we do our marketing in general. We're a global organization and we do global programs, but we try to build programs that are localizable for each of our local teams.
The other thing that I notice with a lot of brands today, and I'm curious if you see this, if it's part of your philosophy at Coca-Cola, musically speaking, is that there's a much more extensive use of independent music that isn't necessarily iconic, as opposed to 15, 20 years ago. Do you find that Coca-Cola is open to a much wider variety of independent styles than perhaps they were many years back?
100%. And that's where, our partnership, I know you spoke with Eric Shanka from Music Dealer earlier. Our partnership with music dealers is exactly rooted in that belief, in the belief that, music and music creation is now has a broader approach, and that great talent and great music can come from anywhere. And our need for music is bigger than it's never been. We have a portfolio of over 400 brands. Each of those brands need music for their communication. Each of those brands need a music identity, the same way they have a visual identity. And so tapping into the tremendous talent that independent artists have to build those brands through music is something that definitely we're doing. When we started the partnership with music dealers 2 years ago, it really started on the premise of we have a growing need for music.
Mm-hmm.
It is sometimes hard to work, to get access to music with the traditional music industry. Working with a company like Music Dealers, where every song is already pre-cleared, pre-negotiated, is defined by very clear numbers of criteria that I can link to the brands that I'm trying to target,
mm-hmm.
has made our life easier in finding the right content at the right price and the right timing. I mean, they operate on a very quick basis. You have, independent artists are very hungry, and the potential of working with us, if we offer them the right platform and we do it in the right way, in a real partnership way, can be a very fertile relationship. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, what was it about Music Dealers and their presentation? I'm sure a lot of companies would have loved to have had that relationship with you and Coca-Cola. What was it about Music Dealers that really made those stand out, where it made you feel this is the company we want to be with?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing is that each of those companies that we built partnership with, we never signed partnership on the basis of a belief that it's going to work. We test them on a couple of projects before we get into that longer term relationship. Right. We worked with Music Dealers on 2 or 3 projects, and each time they knocked it out of the park. They were, quick in their response. The quality of the content was excellent. The legal side and the legal aspect of things was done in a very smooth and a very easy way. We know how complex that part can be, And so that's, after 3 projects in a row where they really over-delivered, we were like, okay, now it's time to think about a longer term type of relationship between our 2 organizations. What I think is also proper to Music Dealer that we like a lot is, we're a global company. We just spoke about it.
Sure.
They have a global pool of artists. And so when we were looking at creating our song for the Sochi Winter Olympics,
mm-hmm.
Happening in Russia, and we wanted a song that was proper to Russia, sang by a Russian, we go to Music Dealer. They have that catalog. They have access to artists that are in Russia, already existing in their platform, and they're able to answer some of the needs we have. Our South African team last year, we're looking for a song that was specific for South Africa. They tapped into Music Dealers catalog. So they really, although they were originally when we met them, and they're still based in Chicago, they've now grown into a more global organization. They are a US-based organization. They really have an international pool of artists, which is also something that was very important for us.
And what you need based on what you said.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, the Music Dealer team is today in Indonesia,
mm-hmm.
working with our Indonesia team on the World Cup, on the localization of our World Cup song for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the plans that you have for the World Cup in Brazil for next year? I mean, I know that, I guess my question, but rather than talking about it, how does Coca-Cola decide what events they want to participate in and which ones are not right for them? I mean, with a brand like Coca-Cola that's so iconic in world culture, every culture, how do you decide? I mean, you can't do every single one, but how do you decide what you're going to get involved with and what?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we have to be very choiceful. And you know, the filter that we use for our decision is our brand needs and our brand strategies. And we try to understand each brand has a brand DNA, has an identity, has a personality, if you will. You know, so Coca-Cola is all about happiness. That's the word that embodies the brand. Fanta is all about play and playfulness. Mm-hmm. Each of those brands have a target, you know, have an audience that we try to capture for that brand. Right. And so that starts to give us filters to judge and evaluate opportunities that we may have. And then we're going to judge those opportunities on how global they are, how the potential of growth they have. I mean, you know, Spotify, the choice of Spotify, and we met with all the digital streaming companies, right? Yeah. All of them. And all of them have a strength, and all of them, I think, are great service. The reason why we chose Spotify is because we made a bet on their potential of growth, because of the structure of the platform that we thought had a lot of potential. We believed in their product, right? Which is all based on discovery and sharing of music. That's really what Spotify as an experience is, which is what we want to be as a brand, which is helping people discover new music and use music as a way to connect with others. And Coke is all about connection, right? So those are the filters that we use. But at the core, the simple answer to your question is we use the brand strategy as the filter to make our decision. And we try to evaluate the events, the partnership, you know, the different assets against those needs that a brand may have.
Wow, some really incredible and insightful information from Emmanuel, who represents one of the biggest and most iconic global brands in the world, the Coca-Cola Company. So, insiders, question of the day. What were the most important factors in what Emmanuel spoke about regarding how Coca-Cola makes their musical choices to represent their musical brand? Was it the increased role that music is playing in the marketing of Coca-Cola? Or was it how they localize the music choices in the branding of Coca-Cola, depending on the territory? Or was it the openness that Coca-Cola, like so many other brands, has toward a wider and more diverse musical climate? Or maybe it was something else that connected with you. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to watch and subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video and you really loved it, please hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.